to entrust oneself to the Nimbutsu is to already have become a person who realizes wisdom and will attain Buddhahood. Know that this is to become free of foolishness. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Well, good morning again. I would like to continue with the message for the Adult Sangha members. The other day, my wife and I were talking about our son as we were going shopping in Pleasanton, and at that time, my wife was telling me about the different things that our son tells her that happens at school at nighttime. So right at bedtime, he kind of, I don't know, for some reason, opens up to her and tells her all these different kind of stories and dynamics that are happening in the classroom with the other kids, and who he likes to play with and who he doesn't like to play with, and all these other things. So then she also mentions certain details that her son kind of gets wrong, or knows that he kind of made up a story that really isn't true. You know how kids tend to do that. So then we both realized that the information, that we were getting from the eyes of this little boy and what he thinks is happening might not be the best of information, and that we're getting about the day-to-day goings-on at a school might not exactly be accurate coming from him. So some of these details might be exaggerated, or maybe they're just flat out wrong, right? So we have to kind of take what he says with a grain of salt. So then I got to thinking, what are the other kids, I'm wondering, telling their parents as well, right? Is their information correct and exaggerated as well? Probably, I think so. And when these kids interact with each other, they are still in the stage where they are trying to learn how to kind of work with each other and how to express their emotions with each other. So, and how to deal with other people who have their own kind of ideas, right? So they probably don't have the tools to communicate well with each other. And there are probably many instances in which kids get into arguments and fights because they don't know how to express their thoughts and emotions well with each other, or they don't properly listen well to each other, right? And these kinds of things happen a lot. And so there's just so much kind of crossfire between these kids miscommunicating with each other and not being accurate with their information. And the teacher then, or the adult in that setting, is in a very kind of interesting position, I believe, or interesting vantage point. My teacher, or K-Size teacher, is a woman, and she is in the crosshairs of all this information and human dynamics, right, that are going on, right? So she has a really tough job, and teachers have a really tough job because she sees all this going on, and on top of that, right, she has to carry out this academic curriculum for the class, right, on day to day, right? So sometimes I wish I could be in her position to see all this kind of miscommunication and interaction going on in the classroom full of 20 some odd kids, right? And she gets to see the children develop in terms of learning how to treat each other and communicating effectively with each other. I think it must be both really exciting, but at the same time, kind of really stressful for a teacher. Yeah. So the point I'm trying to drive at this type of miscommunication, where we don't properly listen to each other, nor do we convey our emotions and thoughts clearly, is that it isn't just with kids, right? We adults have this difficulty too. And Buddhism teaches us that the root of this problem of miscommunication is attachments, is blind passions, okay? We see the world the way that we want to see it, right? And which is, it's never the way that things are actually in and of themselves. We are quick to disregard other people's realities and only take our own into account. And we often don't consider other people's feelings and only consider our own. So just to give you an example, rain, for example. Rain is a natural phenomenon. It doesn't care how we feel about rain, right? But rain will come down, right? And we attach our kind of judgments on rain. I don't want it to rain because I don't want to get wet. I don't want it to rain because I got to go down to LA or something like that, right? We have different kind of judgment calls that we make based on the rain. But the rain, has no it does not care how we feel, right? So again, here, these are our attachments that we place. The way that we see the world is based on our attachments and our blind passions. So, but when we as humans perceive it, there is always this kind of positive and negative judgment that gets in place, right? Something is good, something is bad, something is right, something is wrong, based on our kind of judgments on them. Right? And these things are based on whether they're beneficial to us or not. If it's beneficial, it's good. If it's not beneficial to us, it's bad, right? And so that's kind of how we judge this world. But in reality, Buddhism teaches that nothing in this world is absolutely good and nothing in this world is absolutely bad. Nothing is black and white, okay? Those are lines that we create in the world. So I just mentioned an inanimate thing like rain, but what if it was like another person, right? And just like between kids, between adults, we have miscommunication that takes place. There is miscommunication between spouses, right? Like my wife and I fight all the time, and we don't care, what the other person is feeling, or worse yet, sometimes we do things in spite of each other, right? And so that's a form of miscommunication that happens all the time, right? There is miscommunication between parents and children, between siblings, not just at a young age, but at an adult age, right? Let's say with they're fighting over their parents' will or something like that, right? I've lost friends over misunderstandings of actions that they did to me or that I did to them, right? There's miscommunication between strangers or political parties, between countries, right? In fact, right? We just had a little thing with France, right? For, I don't know, something about buying submarines or something like that. I forget the story, but so yeah, they got bent out of shape because of what we did, right? And so this kind of thing happens all the time. And this is why fighting is so easy to do and maintaining peace is so hard to do, right? Proper communication takes dedication, it takes consistency, it takes frequency, it takes patience. All these things are things I do not have, right? All these things are very difficult things to maintain. And it's so much easier to just say, I am right and the other person is wrong, right? And we will make up reasonings as to why I am justified, why I am right, why the other person is wrong, right? However, the things that we see and understand in this world is but one small sliver of the reality of what's actually going on. In anything that we do, there is no way that we cannot be biased, right? Everything from the cup of tea or the cup of coffee, the brand that we choose, to the kind of toothbrush or the toothpaste that we use, to our political views, all of these things are based on this ego self. And we as humans are incapable of being objective, truly objective, right? So you might think, what about like science or like math, right? These things are objective, right? They might be objective, right? But how we treat those numbers, how we treat scientific facts is not objective. Right? So getting back to my son's class, the teacher is the one who is the wise one, right? And sees what the children are doing. The teacher is also compassionate by seeing each child and trying to adjust to the child's needs. The teacher sees all this miscommunication and misunderstanding going on in the world of this classroom, right? And understands the causes of the suffering that goes on and the unnecessary chaos that happens between children. The teacher, however, wants everyone to feel secure, to feel comfortable, to think of school as a fun place to be, right? It is the teacher that tries to get the kids to awaken to her aspiration for them to succeed and have peace in their hearts and minds. Her aspiration, hopes, and dreams is relayed to them through their education and her efforts to get them to understand about life's challenges. And hopefully the children can come to understand this, where eventually the teacher's aspirations become their aspirations. And this is when the two minds, the mind of the teacher and the mind of the student, become one, right? Do you know what I just explained to you? The teacher, yes. But who is our teacher for adults, where our classroom is the world, the universe, the cosmos? Our great teacher is none other than Amida Buddha. Right? Everything I mentioned to you about the teacher is exactly what Amida Buddha does for us. The great teacher is the wise one who sees what the children are doing. Amida Buddha is compassionate by seeing each child and trying to adjust to each child's needs. The great teacher sees all the miscommunication and misunderstanding that is going on in the world and all the unnecessary suffering that is taking place. Amida Buddha wants all beings to feel secure, to feel protected, to feel welcome, right? So that they can all get along together. Amida Buddha tries to get everyone to awaken to his aspiration for them to succeed and have peace in their hearts and minds. Amida's aspiration, hopes, and dreams is relayed to them through their education of the Buddha Dharma and the Buddha's efforts to get them to understand about life's challenges, such as impermanence. Amida Buddha is the great teacher. We are the children, right? The students. And hopefully, the sentient beings can come to understand this, where eventually the great teacher's aspirations become our aspirations. And this is when the two minds, the mind of the teacher and the mind of the student, become one. And in Jodo Shinshu, we call this Shinjin, or in English, true entrustment. I'd like to continue on by asking you about a question. Can you think back to a time like when you were in high school or in college? For some of you, that might be quite some time ago. No, I'm just kidding. But can you think of a teacher who impacted your life, right? Think back to a teacher who really touched your life, right? Influenced you to do something, to be who you are today. I will give you some time to think about this. And I'll stop, give you some time to think about this, because I think I would like you to kind of seriously take part in this activity, okay? So I'll give you some time to think about who influenced you in your life, a great teacher. Okay, I hope you're able to think of someone. So now on the count of 3, I would like you to say that teacher's name out loud, okay? This is Zoom, so there's no reason to feel embarrassed, okay? You can do this in the comfort of your own home, okay? So ready, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I am actually genuinely curious to hear your answers. I'd like to hear your answers. So is there anybody that would like to volunteer and tell me the teacher's name that you thought of and why you chose that person? Anybody would be great. 1 or 2 people would be fantastic. All right, let me just get back to my notes here. Thank you very much for your responses. So getting back to my talk, the name of this teacher is very important, right? You're able to recall the name of this teacher. When you hear that name, when you say that name, right then and there, you remember your karmic connection with that teacher. All of these memories or warm feelings come flooding out of you, right? Immediately, you are aware of what that person has done for you and what that person means to you. No one else has this relationship other than you and the teacher. Other people might say, that teacher was great or this teacher was very influential, but you know, right, why that person is great firsthand. You have concrete examples of why this teacher is great and has directly impacted you. And only you can tell this story, right? So perhaps many of you, that teacher has long since passed, or you have no way of getting into contact with that teacher anymore. But and the best that you can hope for is to try and repay what has been given to you, and for you to show deep gratitude for having been impacted by this person. Everything that teacher is to you, then we can say, is packed into that name. Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, Ms. So-and-so, right? All that matters is the name, because all the effort, the hopes, the aspirations of that teacher for you is packed into that name. Right? That's exactly what Namo Amida Butsu is. Namo Amida Butsu is saying Mr. Amida, Mrs. Amida, Ms. Amida. And as soon as we say the name, all the virtues is packed into the name. And immediately we feel, or we should feel, warmth. we feel clarity, we feel quietude and calmness. Because this is what Amida Buddha is and does for us. Amida Buddha is the great teacher. Amida Buddha is so great that your teacher is guiding you right now to understand this Dharma message, right? Today's Dharma message has nothing to do with me, right? Standing here at the podium. Today's Dharma message is brought to you by Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, Ms. So-and-so, because that teacher and your karmic bond with that teacher enabled you to understand what it is that Amida Buddha does for us on a spiritual level. So with that, I'd like to end today's message and thank you for all of you for participating in today's talk. What I wanted to get at was that, I would like to show our deep gratitude and appreciation for all the teachers out there in the world who impact our lives and help us to eventually come to awaken to the working of the Buddha Dharma. Okay, so with that, I'd like to close today. Thank you very much. Please join me in Gassho. To entrust oneself to the Nembutsu is to already have become a person who realizes wisdom and will attain Buddhahood. Know that this is to become free of foolishness. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.